Adequate notice?
Yeah. Who's talking? Yeah, Dora's not ready.
Is it them coming?
Is your mic on? It is.
Ready to go?
Nobody can hear you.
Speak into it.
I did.
Can you hear him?
Call the meeting to order. Announcement is made that adequate notice of this meeting has been given and that it is being conducted in accordance with NJSA 10:4-6 at SEC of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act. Please call the roll.
Mr. Berkowitz.
Here.
Mr. Jaskowitz.
Here.
Mr. Kaplan.
Here.
Mr. Parikh.
Here.
Mr. Reddy.
Present.
Mr. Willens.
Here.
We also have with us tonight the board attorney, Mr. King.
Present.
The board planner, Mr. Chadwick. And the board engineer, Mr. Holloway.
Here.
Okay, we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first, does anybody have any business before this board that's not on tonight's agenda? I see none. Didn't we have a minute we were supposed to deal with?
The next meeting.
I'm sorry?
The meet,
I thought we got minutes in that email, so I thought.
No, I was going to put it on the following meeting,
All right.
give people enough time to read it.
So I guess we gotta start with the first item on the agenda is Devin Cavallari.
no, they've been carried.
There's no resolution.
So you raise your right hand? You swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before the board is true to help you God?
Yes.
And for the record, can you state and spell your name?
Devin Cavallari, Devin-Cavallari.
Martha,
And you're the owner of the subject property? Okay, thank you. You can have a seat and just please speak into the microphone. Thank you.
why do we carry this? Why do we carry this?
Because he had to bring back some additional information, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Believe so.
Was that, did we take any testimony last time?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, well, just to review, you need a variance to legalize river rock around the pool patio between the house and the walkway.
Correct.
And the biggest thing is your impervious coverage is growing from 42% to 48%. Your previous application in 2018. I guess for the record, why don't you explain a little bit about what it is you're asking us to let you do?
River rock on, from the perimeter of the property, around some hardscaping that was put in, and along the edge of the house, around the air conditioning units. So that was the.
Can you speak into the mic, please?
That was the basis of the variance, for the request here.
Can you explain to me a little bit what river rock is, because I'm ignorant to it.
So this size, larger style rocks, I guess, maybe look smooth rocks, right, from erosion from the river, I guess.
And so does it allow the water to filter through, or rain
Yes.
to fall through it?
Yes,
You're
yeah.
not sitting on concrete.
No, it's on dirt.
Did you meet with your neighbor at all? to talk about the problem?
Did I meet with the neighbor to talk about the problem?
Yes.
No.
And the reason you didn't?
Well, we've talked about the problem when it was brought up, but it was, he's very difficult to talk to about the problem, so it's, not very productive.
Is he here tonight?
Doesn't
Is
look
there
like.
anyone here in the matter of, case 1941?
6 Elway Road. Doesn't appear to be.
And you have a letter from Mr. Leeser kind of addressing the subject. He appears to
Correct.
decorative river rock would only help stormwater runoff.
Correct.
And the issue of whether or not there was bonding previous, you can't conclude one way or the other than he mentions that, I guess yourself spoke to him what you had done.
Yeah, we spoke several times over the course of this, issue.
Tell me your perception of why you were asked to come back.
Because he's made complaints and, what's that?
Complaints from?
Neighbors.
Why am I here, the question was?
What's he complaining about?
remember.
He's complaining that
There was drainage.
there was drainage issues that I caused.
And is that why you put in the additional river stone?
So no, Riverstone was put in, when the town engineers came out to inspect the issue. I guess they noticed the river rock. They researched it, I presume, and then they said that that was not part of my initial, variance, which, I had the patio, and at the time I didn't realize that was, impervious coverage. That didn't occur to me that would be impervious coverage. So I was in violation and I either had to come back for the variance or remove the stone and put mulch or something.
Well, you had a combination. You had a neighbor complaint.
Well, neighbor complaint, and that's what they came out,
Yeah,
and I guess they had to do something.
and you put a little more, it's not impervious, you put river rock down where it didn't show on your variance plan.
Correct.
Simple as that. So when they inspected, it wasn't in accordance with the plan, they were right.
Right.
And I believe, Mr. Chairman, that, at that time, he didn't have any expert witness, to testify that, in fact, that river rock would be not increasing the impervious coverage. That's why we asked him to come back or have the township engineer give us the information. Is that correct?
What you did.
Did we ever do?
Well, no,
Make
excuse me.
contact with
In that, was that your understanding also?
My understanding last time I was here, the, neighbor had claimed he did not receive notification,
Right, okay,
although,
good. Yep.
although he did, and there was evidence of that.
We're not here to hear that. We're here to hear the
Oh.
case, okay? So,
Yep.
so the reason you had to come back is because your neighbor said he didn't get
Right,
notification,
it's on my
okay?
papers.
That was one issue.
That was
The other-
one issue.
The other issue was your original approval, when the inspector came out, you had put stone in an area that wasn't previously approved.
Right.
And they had thought that that was more impervious coverage than you were approved for. Now the engineers indicated that the stone you put down is not really impervious coverage because water will go through it. Is that correct, Mr. Chadwick, from what you're reading? Okay.
Yeah, he also, I think he opined that it probably slows water runoff down.
Yeah. So you've responded to the complaint and to the request for additional or professional information, which didn't allow this board to approve your application on your first visit. Your objector is not here tonight, so I think you, for my satisfaction, have done what we were asked to do to
Well,
approve this.
just in looking at the engineer's report, it was his opinion that decorative river rock could only help with the stormwater runoff,
Right.
not exasperate the runoff, as long as the river rock was constructed without an impervious space. The river rock does not have an impervious space, correct?
No.
So underneath the river rock is soil.
Soil, there's
Landscape
a mesh for the weeds, but it allows
The mesh
water.
allows the water to go through.
Right, correct.
I think Davey said it very succinctly.
You want to ask for a motion?
Does anybody have any questions of this witness? Anybody have anything they want to add to this case in favor of or opposing it? I see none. Anybody want to make a statement or just have a motion to?
Yeah, I like to just clear it up, the impervious coverage now, so it remains the same, like we said 48.76, it's not going to be 48.76. We are not increasing the impervious coverage?
I think we are.
We are increasing.
No, you're not.
No, we are not.
Engineers testified that it is not impervious.
So the impervious coverage remains
Well, so
42.02.
then we have to do,
But how is it?
so what do we have to
So
grant a variance for?
what you're doing is you're giving a variance for the 48
Okay.
percent so that the site plan shows the rock. But what the engineer's opinion is that the rock is gonna, as Mr. Berkowitz stated on the record, is gonna help the flow of water, and also it's going to allow for water to drain through it, somewhat like the pavers in patios. It allows water to go through.
But is that the only issue when it comes to impervious coverage, is the water aspect of it?
The township's ordinance doesn't differentiate between like the pavers where the water can go through, or in this case, the decorative rock. It just says it's hard surface, and it is, so it's a coverage.
Okay.
So you have a disconnect between engineering fact and zoning.
Right, the way I think the ordinance is read is any coverage
Right,
is assumed to be impervious unless it is shown
Other than
otherwise.
site, yeah.
unless it could be shown other, which it has been.
So,
Okay,
so I guess we're approving the coverage that's there.
That's
Right.
correct. Which is the 48% from the 42.
Right, but it's,
Yes.
okay.
So that's, I guess, an interesting point. If I were to go for another variance, and it was impervious coverage,
Say again?
if I was to go for another variance for
I would
something
recommend
else,
that right now for impervious coverage.
Yeah.
trust me, I don't want to.
Leave this for another day.
I think you take your chips and run on this one.
Yeah, I agree.
I just try
Look for
to
another day.
I
understand.
got a motion?
So moved.
Well,
You want to frame it?
Make it?
we have a motion to approve
yeah, you want me to do it?
deny.
Yeah, go ahead, Scott. You got it.
Okay, where are we at? Application 19:41, Devin Cavalieri, 6 Elray Road, Block 166, Lot 71, Zone R3. Recommend granting a C variance to legalize river rock around the pool patio and between house and walkway, contrary to section 430-35, columns 8, 9, and 13.
Second.
Call roll,
Mr. Berkowitz,
yes.
Mr. Jaskowitz.
Yes.
Mr. Kaplan,
Yes.
Mr. Parikh,
Yes.
Mr. Reddy,
Yes.
Mr. Willens.
Yes.
Approved.
All right, the request has been granted, the motion, we put into a resolution, and will be voted on formally in 2 weeks.
Okay.
He can pick it up, right? in 2 weeks?
Yeah.
It will be mailed to him
You'll be,
You'll see,
you'll be mailed?
Nor the next day.
Get out of here.
within a couple of days.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good luck. I guess that brings us to G. Wang, 1010 Vale Road.
Who's going to provide, are you going to provide the testimony, sir? Yes. Okay, raise your right hand.
Clerk Cruz,
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before the court, before the board is the truth so help you God?
Yes.
And for the record, can you state and spell your name? And you're the owner of the subject property? Okay, thank you very much. You may have a seat, and please speak into the mic.
All right, Mr. Wang, I guess we're,
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
before we get into a discussion of the merits of this application, we had asked him to present this case to the township engineer. We have a letter from him dated December 19th.
I read it online, I'm not seeing it here.
There's a newer one dated March 4th.
March 4th.
I just got it today. This is a
Yeah,
copy
there's
for
a lot
you.
of days from-
I have the email.
For March 4th?
Yes.
This one really says the township engineer is not going to be the engineer for the applicant. As I read it.
And I don't think the applicant has an engineer. I didn't see any engineer report. Do you, sir?
No, I don't have an engineer report, because the engineer report based on last hearing, actually based on the first hearing that was held on October 23rd, 2019, which is next year. The conclusion of the first hearing was require town order two things. One is the code enforcement officer to be here in the next hearing. The second one was require the town engineer have a report to see if the expansion of the patio will actually, affect the neighbors, the water, runoff problems. So that was the orders by the first hearing. And the hearing was rescheduled to December 18th last year. And that day when I came here, both orders was not fulfilled because the code enforcement officer was not here and the engineering report was not here. So that being said, in that meeting that was rescheduled to today, I repeatedly asked them, do I need to do anything? The answer is not necessary, but if I could do simultaneously contact the town engineer, that would be very helpful on the process, which is I did. So I emailed to the town engineer, Mr. Lizzie, and also referred to Mr. Paul
Niehoff.
Niehoff. And I had appointments with Mr. Niehoff on February 6th. And so Mr. Niehoff come to my house and look at the expansion of the patio and I testify saying, in that situation, he cannot tell whether this will cause a problem because he had no idea about before and after. And after that, I have not received anything from the town engineer until dated mail, February 26th this year. I received the first letter from Mr. Lizzie, which is dated December 19th, which is the next day from the last hearing. But, the posted is February 26th, and I read it on March 1st. And in this letter, obviously there's a big misunderstanding there, saying I have new request of additional 2,000 square feet of building, that's not true. That we never have the new request. But I thought when I see the date, which is December 19th, I thought that was too early, and also I met Ms. Niehoff after that. So I wasn't too worried about this letter. Until today, I received by email that I have printed out from Mr. Niehoff stating that you can read the letter, like existing unpermitted patio expansion and newly requested impervious coverage expansion. There's no request.
That letter is dated what?
This letter dated today.
That's the new one.
Yeah, new one, dated today. And,
Where are you reading in the letter?
I'm sorry,
Where are you reading in the letter? In what paragraph?
the first paragraph,
Okay.
today's letter.
I'd like to go down to the bottom part of this letter, because my understanding was you were to come back here with a plan for stormwater management which would alleviate any potential additional runoff issue. It wasn't our township's engineer's job to do that. That's what he's telling you. Our township engineer doesn't do your site plan, okay? We had requested that you have a professional provide a stormwater management plan. This letter also says that. You have not done that, and you still don't have that. Is that correct?
No.
All right, well,
Check the
that's what
previous
you need to
record,
do.
that wasn't the case.
That's what you need to do if we're gonna, in my opinion, I would have to have that, to see that, if somebody says you have a plan in place that would mitigate stormwater runoff from a professional engineer. You went to the town engineer, and he basically said, that's not his job to write that report for you. I agree with him. But it is your job to have a professional testify to us that what you're planning to do ain't gonna cause or exacerbate the problem. If you can't provide that, I can't vote for the approval.
And Dave, I think you're right, but if you read this, the third paragraph,
Yeah.
it seems as though they think he wants another 2,000.
No, that wasn't in the
Yeah,
application. That's why there's a big
There may
misunderstanding.
be some confusion there,
Right.
but
It's
there's
still
no
Davey's right.
confusion.
Right.
The engineering department
Mhm.
wants a stormwater management plan. Well, actually, the zoning board of Parsippany wants a stormwater.
Do you understand that?
I understand what you're saying, sir, here now,
Okay.
but that wasn't what the
Oh,
conclusion of the last hearing.
Let's put it this way, we're all focused on it now,
Yeah.
and that's where we are.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, good. That's great. And also, I just want
Are
to,
we talking about things that are already there?
Mhm.
So you're not asking to add anything to what's already there?
No, I'm not asking you.
Right.
This expansion was done on 2015. Which is in the letter saying, existing unpermitted patio expansion. That was done in 2015. There's no request for new additional.
Well, no, the
That,
2015
2,000
expansion was 2,000 square feet, 2,000 feet, correct?
Less than that.
Well, that's what they're alleging, was 2,000 feet. So now they're asking you to get an engineer to discuss where that additional water is gonna run off to, because there's, I think, allegations that your next door neighbor was getting water infiltration, through the property. There was a fence behind your property, if I remember, between the property. In any event, you need that for the board to approve this. They need to see that it's not gonna create any problem.
Or it hasn't created a problem, yeah.
The last hearing as required, the town engineer, I received this letter today
Yes, sir.
saying,
That's fine.
that's not his job.
So
Okay.
then I guess you can request that this matter be carried, but you have to give, any type of, you can have it carried without notice.
I agree.
But you're gonna have to give, waivers for, the time.
I agree.
Right.
And also, Mr. Niehoff also suggests, based on what we met, he's saying, you could he suggests me get advice from the landscaper to see what's about the drainage.
That's not what the board is asking for. You need an engineer to say that the water is going to be held on your property. A landscaper is not an engineer.
But ask for extensions.
He may have practical knowledge, but he is not an engineer.
But if there is the water drainage problems that need to be resolved by, I guess, by the landscapers, by
No. The engineer is going to design a system. We may have to put dry wells in your property, maybe swales, I don't know what it's going to be. Because I have no clue how much water the engineer is going to say is coming from this expansion. Once he determines that, then he's got to have a place to put it, and it's not in your neighbor's backyard.
And am I right by saying the pictures indicate that the addition goes right to the property line?
No, there's a 6-inch between that,
How much?
a 6-inch.
That's,
Between
that's
between the
right next
fence.
to the property line.
Okay,
So,
right, again,
So,
I'm just,
Right now, you're here because you had a violation filed against you, correct? And there's a complaint that what you did caused extra water, okay? What we're suggesting here to alleviate or to mitigate the situation for you and your neighbors is you need to have a professional give a plan that will mitigate that, okay? That will be satisfactorily completed, so that whatever you have done, if his finding is true that what you did in fact increase the water flow and cause puddling, you need to take care of that, okay?
okay,
That's
so
what the engineer
what do
will
I
do.
need to prepare for the
Pardon
next
me?
one?
I'm sorry?
What do I need to prepare for the, for the
you
next
need an
one?
engineer to tell you how to get rid of the water on your property, not sending it to your neighbor's property. An engineer will come up with a plan, like Mr. Chadwick said, how to get the water into the ground without going to your neighbors,
Or out to a drain.
or to a drain or somewhere, but
Or to a
certainly not to your
sewer.
neighbors.
Out to a sewer, whatever.
There's, my neighbor's land always lower than mine.
That,
So how
that,
do I-
that might or might not be true,
Mm-hmm,
but what the board is telling you is,
mm-hmm,
you need to go get an engineer to come up with a plan to alleviate the water issue that you created.
okay, got
So
it.
would you like to carry this?
Carry, what that mean?
So would you like time so you can
Tied
get?
together an engineer.
Yes, I do. Because I've been told twice, from October
Sir,
23rd until December
We understand, we
18th,
heard that.
we're told that was town's gonna have engineer, and this is the first,
Okay,
even though the first letter dated
Okay, thank you.
19. then-
sorry about that misunderstanding.
You know, we're gonna need,
Need you to grant an extension of time for us to make a decision,
Yeah, sure.
okay?
Yeah, okay.
And then, just one second. And you're gonna, so you understand you have to hire
A civil engineer or engineer who,
somebody who's.
is it civil engineer in
Well, the
charge
key
of this
term
area?
is storm management. Somebody to.
Oh, is it storm management? Okay,
And
all right,
drainage.
okay.
Most engineers are.
Water management plan, okay?
That belongs to civil engineer, is that civil engineer?
Yes,
control?
civil engineer is correct.
Okay.
So do you want, if there's anyone here for this application,
Yeah,
this application is gonna be carried to another date.
But we've already been here 3 times, and we haven't had a chance to even share just a little bit of what our opinion is. It's not really fair.
well, the way the procedure is he presents, he,
Opportunity to share our opinion so that the board understands our opinion. That's all.
well, we understand that there's some kind of a problem with the water, and we're trying to get an answer from a professional as to how, hopefully to handle it.
Well, the thing is that his
Because I'm
property is higher because they built it up higher, whether he did it or the people he bought the house from, and then it was covered, the whole backyard is covered. Plus, he had been pumping out his pool onto his property, which caused, we couldn't figure out where all the water was coming. which was
I understand that,
But the engineer might come in and say that what he did is wrong no matter what. So it might not even get to you. He might not have an engineer that could fix the problem he has without cutting back.
The way the process works is, it's his application. He has to give proof to this board, for the relief that he wants. He has to give sufficient proof so the relief can either be granted, and if he doesn't give that proof, then the board could deny it. The way it works, it's like a trial. He gets to testify, then the chairman will open it up to you to ask him questions. After he's put his proof in, which would be an expert, the engineer, any of his factual proof, then you'll have a chance to provide testimony against the application if you still think it's problematic. But he hasn't even given that testimony yet.
Well, we've been back 3 times. The last time, the code enforcement officer and the town engineer was supposed to be here because what he has here now violates the town ordinance, and,
That's why he's here.
okay, so that's what we expected to hear here, was a professional engineer and a code enforcement officer, be on the town side, and both of them, yeah, I haven't spoken to them, but these 2 gentlemen have, and they've been out to look at our properties and how they've flooded, and how that.
Yes, and they're not here, so that's why we're gonna carry this. This is the zoning board. The zoning board's attorney is, the zoning board's engineer is down there. I'm the attorney. This is the planner. So all the professionals here for the zoning board, we're here. The town, engineer and the town's planner are different.
Can't you guys order them to?
We can't order them, no. We can ask them, and they probably didn't come because they just sent a memo dated, March 4th, today, saying that we can't do anything until he gets an engineer, and that engineer provides a drainage plan.
was the enforcement officer ever asked to be here?
Yes, but he has a second job. He works nights.
Okay.
He's working tonight. I mean, these are pictures of puddles of water on the ground. You know.
So to your point, this matter is gonna be carried at a date. You'll get notice, if the 3 of you can give your name to, the secretary, you'll get a notice when this is gonna be rescheduled. At that time, hopefully the applicant has his engineer, and we can request that the town engineer be here as well. But we have our own engineer who is talking to, the town's professionals.
What on that day, we cannot meet it? What's gonna happen?
Then unfortunately, you won't be here. Try to make it on that date.
Well, let's-
Each time, there is no resolution, and what, we couldn't make it on the 4th time.
So may I try something here? It's clear you're opposed to what's happened, and you believe his addition or whatever did cause water problems to your property. That's pretty clear. That's what your belief is, right? Okay, so what we're asking him to do is have an expert say, that that isn't the case, and if it is the case, to solve it with a mitigation plan, okay? Then you're gonna say, okay, if he gets a mitigation plan, then you'll be happy, right? Or you're gonna have to get an expert to testify against his expert, okay? That's how this whole process works, all right?
Well, we kind of expected the town to honor its ordinances.
The town is honoring his orders, that's why you're here.
All right.
That's why he's in violation, why you're here.
So is there a motion, Chairman, do you want to ask for a motion to carry?
Well, I want to say something.
We are representing all parties important here. He's a resident also of the town. Mr. Wang's a resident of the town also. We represent all town. We have no preference here whatsoever.
I have
We
a
hear the-
suggestion.
if the engineer gives his.
The engineer can't take sides either. He can give his opinion, and like you said, it's not his idea to write the plan.
Opinion, and he's gonna get an opinion.
Yeah, okay.
May I make a suggestion, Mr. Wang?
Yes.
You're gonna hire a civil engineer to come out and look at the situation.
Sure, yes,
Okay.
that's the decision, yes. Mhm.
I would suggest that if you could get maybe an email address from one or more of these gentlemen and let them know when the engineer's gonna be there. Then they can be there when the engineer's there, so you can ask him questions.
Well, my
Hello?
question is, if I'm paying the hired engineer to look at my property, why do I need to ask their opinion?
Not
I'm
asking their
doing
opinion,
mine,
just give them a chance to see what.
You don't have to do
No,
anything,
you don't.
you can do whatever you want.
Then our board engineer will go through.
I'm just
with
making a suggestion for.
understood,
sake
sir,
of,
but.
But isn't that, but we're just addressing that one issue. There might be an issue with setbacks. The surface goes up to 6 inches from the property line. That might be an issue separate from the water drainage issue.
Patios don't,
They don't have a setback at all?
not regulated.
And
Okay.
also his fence.
Decks.
What's that?
Yeah, so, sir,
Yeah, not a
quite
patio.
frankly, you can't speak right now because you have to come here. I think the chairman is to let you talk from the audience, but technically you're not supposed to do that.
I think that's the reason we need to hire a professional engineer. Okay, these people only taking, worry about taking sides, not taking sides, that's why there's a professional in this world.
So you.
As I truly
so you wanna
believe.
ask for
That's why I
motion to
agree with the
carry?
board, hiring
What kind
engineer.
of
I
a
would
date,
have
looking
hired,
at, Laura?
I would have hired an engineer before, if the board
Okay,
wasn't
You're gonna have, sir,
decided.
you're gonna have a chance to
I
do
will-
that.
We
This
can't
is gonna be
change the
carried.
past. so
No, I'm not
we
saying,
may-
I'm just,
may have-
How-
merit on
How
that.
much time do you need to do all these things?
I never had experience to hire engineers, so I don't know what their schedule is. So I will need some time, so I'm
months?
sure it's costly too.
But remember, his patio is there.
I know.
Yeah, already.
They have more recourse.
They're more-
Norwin, do you have any time?
The soonest is April 22nd.
April 22nd, April 22nd? You
I
think-
will try, I don't know
I
if
don't think you'll get it done by then.
Okay, the following meeting is May 6th.
let's try May 6th.
May 6th?
Yeah, I try to make it done. I don't want this, I
You
want
know,
my
May
neighbors
6th
to
is
be
okay with
happy,
you, gentlemen?
Yes.
okay? I'm not here to be anybody's enemy.
Don't worry.
By the way, this neighbor's never met in my life,
Find out
so I don't know where the hatred from, but maybe that is. I have a last question, which is since, here, because I'm hitting the deadline. I received a letter from the town dated February 22nd saying.
Do we have that in our files?
What? I'm sorry.
Do we have that in our files?
Oh, this is an invoice for the last hearing.
Yes, that was sent from me.
Oh,
That's,
okay, I'm sorry.
it's a charge against your escrow account for services from whichever one of our professionals.
Understood, that was charged for the last hearing, but last hearing was not,
They reviewed for the hearing and they prepared for the hearing.
okay,
And
but
you
the
are
two
charged
things
for
which
it.
is supposed to happen the last hearing wasn't
Okay.
exist.
So,
That's why.
let's ask for the motion. to
That's
carry.
why I'm questioning, is should I be charged? I am not, I'm just saying, that's all.
Yes, sir. As long as everybody else is talking.
You gotta cut this off.
Yeah.
We gotta move
Okay.
on.
Yeah.
No problem.
Motion to carry?
Yeah. Motion to carry?
Well,
I have a motion to carry this. May 6th.
So moved.
Second, Jaskowitz.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. All right, this
And
matter
We
is
make
carried.
it clear to
May
Mr.
6th.
Wang what that
and
means
it's,
to carry
it's,
now?
it's carried with all extensions granted,
Thank you.
correct? All extensions are
Yeah,
granted.
He did.
Sure.
He did
I will
indicate.
have the report ready by that day.
That's what you need to do.
Yes,
That's it.
It is,
thank you.
absolutely.
Am I done?
The next one is application 1964 Mountain
6 feet from the side.
Mountain Club.
Same as decks.
I know, I'm on the line, I'm trying to figure.
We got two of them here.
We're supposed to do something with the
Going into the store.
All right, so the next application is Mountain Club Condominium Association.
Application 1964.
Is anybody here on that?
Didn't see anyone?
Nora?
I apologize. May 6th.
Nora?
That was my
Yes,
next
I'm
question.
answering their question. What is yours?
Well, on
We're
application
just gonna give them a date, I
1964,
think.
the
Mountain Club Association.
No one's here.
Okay, next one then.
Next one.
Forge Pond Developers is next.
I have to recuse myself.
Why do you smile every time you say that?
Good evening.
So you mean you get to go?
So it's application 1965, Forge Pond Developers, Old Dover Road, Block 14, Lot 12.01.
Never gonna-
Before we get to that, we were supposed to do something with, I lost it again. Is it Mateo?
Yes.
Nora, did you ever hear from Mr. Mateo?
I spoke with him today. His application, he's going to notice. It's, April 22nd. He, something about his child and it slipped his mind.
So he asked for an adjournment,
Yes.
and did he give all extensions?
I'm going to, when I send him a new notice, he's going to notice everybody. I'll put something in the mail for him to,
So it was never really scheduled for tonight anyhow, it wasn't on the agenda.
it was not only to announce another date, which I spoke with him about today.
Great.
All right, so
Make that decision now.
Mateo application 19:77. we
Excuse
heard
me,
on
Mr.
April-
Chairman?
We get this one poked out.
Oh, okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I know there were objectors here on that, that's why.
There was one last week for that
Mr.
application,
Half,
so.
I hope I'll be. All right, so we'll put that.
Mr. Chairman and council, on the Mount Club, they're not here, so what do we do? Don't we need to vote to carry or dismiss or do something with it?
Yes,
Okay.
so we're either gonna dismiss it without prejudice or, carry. What's our time frame?
Was there an attorney on that case?
Let me see on that one. They,
I don't think you want to dismiss it.
No, we don't want to
Have a
dismiss
chance to look at it, then what needs to be fixed.
So it sounded like, yeah.
Yeah. All done.
We don't wanna run into a problem where
They might have done it, I've been up here sometimes last year.
I know they noticed, we had somebody come in and look at their application yesterday. What the heck is it?
How long does it take?
You know what? They never sent me notice. They never sent me, their notice. So
So,
I did have somebody come in yesterday because they received notice.
They just,
Never
they never
supplied it to
sent
me.
you proof.
Huh?
They never sent you the proof.
Right.
so it never was, officially, scheduled, because they never
No, it
provided
was
notice?
scheduled.
Well, you scheduled it, they never officially, they didn't have proof of a mailing, they never
They
provided
did
that to
not
you.
provide it to me.
But somebody did come in saying you had notice. Why don't we just move it to another date? Try to dismiss. We do that?
Find out if anybody's out there for it.
Anybody here on the Mountain Club matter? I see no response.
So I'll make a motion to carry to next
Motion.
available date, which is,
You want to give us?
April 22nd.
And is that, and you'll call them up and they'll give all extensions? if-
Absolutely.
All right, anyway,
And we have time, is that correct?
so I
I'd
have a
have to
motion
go
to
back,
carry to
I'd
April
have to go back
22nd.
and look.
Yes,
Yeah.
so moved.
Second,
Without prejudice.
Yeah, motion made by Devi and seconded.
We gotta figure out, timing, if you.
What was it, 90?
April 22nd.
It's at 6
Go ahead, John.
If, it's like that, the guy that claimed the active time,
I know.
I don't know if we get,
They submitted November 22nd and were deemed complete December 19th.
Yeah, it was over within time.
no,
You said
this
100.
is C variance. Isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a C.
Yeah, so you only get, how many days? You get,
It's 120 days, right?
that's the use. Isn't it 90? Oh, wait a minute, the subdivision.
Any variance.
It's 120 days. Yeah, we're okay.
We're okay moving it to
All
April
in favor
22nd?
of April 22nd?
So moved.
Any opposed? None? Okay.
April 22nd.
Mhm.
Sorry for the delay, Mr. Hunter.
Oh, that's quite all right. Thank you. Joseph O'Neill for the applicant. We're here on a, kind of a return visit. This was last heard by the board back in July of 2018, when the board granted approval for the townhomes that are on the lot. You've seen the plans. We've submitted what we're here for this evening. As part of that application is a subdivision to put each of those townhomes on their own individual lots. I have with me a number of witnesses, but what I'd like to do is start out with Mr. Carlback to run through the application and the proofs for the application. And if anyone has any questions of the engineer, the surveyor, or the architect, I have everybody with me tonight, if that's what the board wants to hear. But without further ado, Mr. Chairman, if I may, Mr. Carlback.
Raise your right hand, you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give before the board's true self you got?
I do.
And for the record, can you state and spell your name?
David Carlbach, Karlebach.
And your testimony tonight will be in regard to?
Professional planning?
And all your licenses are in full force and effect?
Yes.
And you provide testimony before this board and other boards in the state of New Jersey?
Yes, I have.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, you sworn and qualified.
Go ahead, Mr. Carlback, you're familiar with the application that's before the board?
Yes, I am.
You've had an opportunity to examine the local ordinances and master plan?
Yes, I have.
I wonder if you can go ahead and compare this application to those documents and give us your findings.
Certainly. First, I'd like to talk a little bit about the site. This is a 1.2 acre site. It's currently vacant and wooded. It was approved in 2018 for a 12-unit townhouse development as part of the Greater Mountain Way development. It's actually an appendage of that development. Mountain Way was approved in 2016 for 100 units. I believe it was 100 units, plus or minus. And the construction is substantially underway. A lot of the roadways are cut through, and I've noticed they've poured some of the foundations. So construction has begun on Mountain Way. The dominant land use in this area actually is a combination of single-family and multifamily homes. If you go, I guess, southwest of this site, you'll find Glenmont Commons. That's adjacent to the site. Those are townhomes, of course, and that's a substantial development. In terms of this plan, there's no physical changes to the approved plan. Everything stays exactly as it appears on the approved plan. The only difference is the subdivision that would allow for the fee simple ownership of the units, of the actual townhome units. And Mountain Way received the very same approvals for fee simple that this applicant now currently seeks. So you can see, because the subdivision lines now cut physically through the middle of these townhome units, a number of variances are created. Those variants are summarized on a plan. It's a subdivision plan prepared by MCB, dated November 4th, 2019. And there's a table in the lower right-hand corner which summarizes all the variances that were sought. Again, very similar to the Mountain Way development. Now, this property is located in the RR zone. There's no change in zoning since the 2018 approval. There's no change in the use and density or other relief is granted as part of the 2018 approval, with the exception of that variance that's created by those new subdivision lines as summarized in the table. So again, the relief is technical in nature. There's the setbacks, the coverage, all is summarized in the table. And this is the very same relief that was granted for the much larger Mountain Way development. So now I'd just like to talk a little bit about the basis for the granting of the relief. All relief is justifiable under the C2 or the flexible C balancing test, and that is there's no hardship complained of. Instead, it's a balancing of the benefits versus the burdens. And I believe the benefits of the application substantially outweigh the detriments. As the board knows, we're not only examining the benefits that arise from the variance that's being sought, or the variances that are being sought, but we're allowed to look at the overall context of the project, the entirety of it, and talk about the benefits that arise from the overall development. So the benefits, of course, are that fee simple gives each unit better control over the physical space around it. The project itself remains intact, and all of the prior cited benefits carry forth, as was explained by Mr. McDonough back when this project was originally approved. All those same benefits carry forward. The project continues to promote the purposes of the land use law, namely purposes A, G, I, and M of the land use law. In terms of the detriments, there are no detriments. Fee simple ownership, in fact, makes this piece more consistent with the rest of the Mountain Way development. The deviations are imperceptible in the real world. The development will look exactly as it was planned and approved back in 2018. Okay, you're not going to walk down the court and notice any of the subdivision lines, and that's really the only difference, are those lines. Regulation by ownership has no bearing from a zoning perspective. The use, the density, and every other aspect of the previously approved plan remains intact. So really, this relief, in my mind, is a very, very technical nature. So I'll conclude by saying the statutory criteria for the granting of all relief are met, and I believe approval is warranted.
Thank you, Mr. Carlback. I have no further questions for this witness.
Any members of the board have any questions for this witness?
They're so minimal, why are you here?
I'm sorry?
These are so minimal, why are you here? I'm a little confused.
Well, it's really just based on the type of ownership it's fee simple versus a condominium form of ownership, and that's about it. The physical attributes of the plan remain the same.
It creates 98 variances, just adding up the list on the plan.
Right, well, which would make a great deal of sense, because as you put the property lines through the middle of these buildings, you're going to have setback variances everywhere.
It's more of a technical kind of thing?
It's just like the Mountain Way development, it's really the same.
The technical requirements.
Can I ask a couple questions? Who's gonna own the street?
Well, we discussed that in the original application, and the intention was to eventually turn it over to the town.
That's what, then you've got it shown as a lot. Right now. Who's gonna own the detention basin?
I believe that's the developer. We testified
That'll
before.
be the owners association.
Yes.
That was the next question. I don't recall discussing this project with the jurisdiction of the street. You and I talked about it, because I called you on it.
Maybe I'm misremembering that, Mr. Chadwick, but that was my impression from the prior application, that the street was to be turned over to the town.
The street.
Yes.
The whole project was one condo job. Didn't have any lot lines.
Because I thought the street did, Mr. Chadwick. I apologize. I can check that very quickly.
The only,
Okay, can you help me out?
it's unclear on the map whose it is. That's for sure. Dave, I know what I'm talking about?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Chadwick, I'm being told on the plan that the lot assignment that's in the middle of the street is the old lot assignment from the prior plan. The entire intention, even in the original application, was that was a right-of-way, not a separate lot.
So the street was a private street on the prior approval.
It's a right-of-way, yes.
That's not what I said.
Well, as I indicated before, I thought it was supposed to be turned over to the town.
What does Mr. McClellan think it was?
Mr. McClellan? Yes, you're being asked a question,
So
so.
raise your right hand, you swear from testimony you're about to give the board is the truth so help you God?
I
And
do.
for the record, state your name.
Patrick
And
McClellan?
you've been sworn before this board and also on this application prior?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Chadwick, my recollection is the same as Mr. O'Neill's, that through the testimony of the site plan application, that we'd indicated an intention for the township to take ownership of the right-of-way.
Okay.
So is there supposed to be a homeowners association?
There is still supposed to be a homeowners association, and that would control the other common elements that are not part of the plan. There's a surrounding area, there's a detention basin, so these would be part of that homeowners.
There's a strip of land outside the lots that goes
Yeah, that's why I
around.
was asking.
The association will have to take care of the grass and bushes and whatever they've got over there.
Exactly
As well
right.
as the stormwater stuff.
So,
And that's no change from the original application back in 2018 either.
so whose responsibility is to maintain the detention basin?
That would be the homeowners association. That has nothing to do with this application. It's unchanged from the prior application.
Have you received the engineer's letter and you have any
I
questions?
did, I was negligent, I should have mentioned that we accept all the comments in the engineering and planning report. We're discussing the one point Mr. Chadwick brought up in the planning report, but as far as the engineering report, we'll make all those changes.
And I did talk with the township engineer's office, and they wanted to make sure that the basins were not going to be turned over to the town, so,
As they did back in 2018.
okay.
yes.
I did do a report on this December 31st, it's dated, I probably everybody's a copy. The only thing I want to comment further is this plan was approved, essentially granted the number of units well before the township adopted its affordable housing regulations. So, unfortunately, fortunately, whichever way you want to say it, it's not required.
Okay. You have anything else, Mr. O'Neill?
My witnesses are available if there are any other questions, otherwise I would rely on the testimony that we've provided and ask the board to approve
Any
this.
any other board members have questions?
Is there a concern that the road is being turned over to the town?
No.
Okay.
No, we did the other one, but
Paperwork.
the paperwork I have in my office, and I'll be candid, I don't keep everything from years to years. I couldn't tell. I couldn't find the old resolution.
If I may comment, the reason I remember that we were talking about turning it over, there was a question at the board level about our intention to turn it over to the town, and I remember having to do a dissertation about the fact that it really doesn't matter what a developer intends for a roadway, only the town council can take jurisdiction over a road. So we can ask the town to do it, but there are plenty of roads, private roads in town, that people intended to turn over to the town that never got turned over. There was even a case down the road here where somebody sued the town to take over a road, and of course lost that lawsuit.
It's down by the psychiatric,
Yes, exactly correct. It's a moot point possibly, but in your presentation, you attached 8 photos, different lots or whatever, and they've not been talking about, why are they attached here? What relevance do they have to what we're supposed to be thinking about here tonight? Why do we have these pictures? Those photos, Mr. McClellan is asking, the question is, why are there photos on the plan?
But quite frankly,
You gotta talk into the mic. You're not the prior application.
Yeah,
You
right,
have to
exactly.
stand up and talk into the mic.
The photographs are provided, they're a checklist item, and it seems silly to ask for a waiver, so we went out, took some pictures, and since it's a fairly small application, we felt it convenient to just put them right on the plan.
So these 8 shots are what am I looking at? I'm looking at trees and a little snow and a nice flat lake.
That's what you're looking at, and there's photo location and orientation circles on the plan itself
Okay.
to orient you.
Okay.
They all illustrate the point that it's a vacant property.
Yeah, that's my question. Has a few trees on it,
There's a few trees.
and all those trees will be gone.
Questions from, if you talk again from your open.
Never mind, I got it. We're good.
Any members of the public have any questions of these experts who testified? See none. Anybody from the public wish to speak in opposition to this matter? In favor of this matter? I see none.
I just thank the board for its time and rely on the applications submitted. There's really no visible changes, it's just the drawing of lines. Thank you.
Do we need to go into conference?
No.
No. Do we make a recommendation or propose a motion?
Yeah, I'm in favor of this application since it is a technical aspect, not the major differences between the as approved plan. So I'm in favor of this.
All right, somebody want to make a motion?
What are you tapping me for? Make a motion?
You wanna make Mr. Kaplan?
I got it, sure.
Go ahead,
Application number 1965, Forge Pond Developers, Old Dover Road, Block 14, lots 12.01 in the RR zone. I recommend that we amend the preliminary and final major subdivision, grant the C variance for the 12-lot subdivision.
Second reading?
I said that correct.
Good enough.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
You should call the roll.
Roll call.
Mr. Berkowitz.
Yes.
Mr. Kaplan.
Yes.
Mr. Parikh.
Yes.
Mr. Reddy.
Yes.
Mr. Willens.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice evening. You do the same.
So, do we have any other business?
You get home early tonight?
No other business.
We have a motion to adjourn?
No, so moved.
All right. We adjourn.
Thank you, sir.
I always try just one.
This is a bit of a rough one.
And I always return.
I've always done it.
Are you coming to the,
The one?
Ah, I think I found it.
Oh, that thing? When is that? Yeah.
I think I did look at
That's the
yours
one.
and it was all good.
You're being
See you then. You're welcome. I was happy to help you.
facetious. I mean, you're rough.
Oh,